So today's topic, as you have all seen, is relevance of temple for total wellness. And this we understand through yoga concepts. When we say we understand through yoga concepts, what we really understand is yoga is a philosophical and a discipline that in today's world we can scientifically measure. And so it allows us to understand what the temple does and how wellness comes into you, understanding the yoga concepts, and these are measurable. So in other words, we are able to integrate through yoga, we are able to integrate the philosophical elements as well as practice elements, why we have temples, why people feel different ways when they come to the temple, and how we can measure it scientifically. So we'll begin with a quick note over here. All of this we have published in a book. And the book is called Yoga Concepts for Global Application. And we have a few copies over here Ratna brought with her. So the authors, there are 5 of us over here who have jointly authored. I'm the principal author in the sense most of the book I have written. But the people who have joined in, there is somebody called Stephen Parker. He goes by the name Stoma Parker. And he is the chief yoga trainer from the Himalayan Institute. And those of you who don't know the Himalayan Institute is one of those rare yoga institutions where they actually do Sri Vidya Puja and understanding the Sri Vidya concept. And they're very much adhered into Kashmir Shaivism. Even though the practice of yoga and things that are done from the what is called the Tantra Vidya perspective. So that is a different kind of yoga from what you would see in most yoga studios where they focus on asana and pranayama. So the deeper element of it, and the real focus on the higher meditation. And Sanjeev Krishna is another person. He is well established in Dubai with his organization called Sanjeev Krishna Yoga. And there is yet another person, and a very remarkable person, Ambassador Idris Odruogo. Idris Rao Odruogo, he was the ambassador for Burkina Faso, which is in West Africa, the small country, to India. He was the ambassador to India and 9 other South Asian countries. And he was based in New Delhi for many years. And he learned his yoga from the Himalayan Institute. And he can relate to how, through the yogic understanding, how the African voodoo system works. So he can see the spirituality of yoga represented in the African voodoo system. It is represented in our temple and the worship practices we do. It is represented in the spiritual content of every religion. And outwardly, people do rituals in religions. But the inner element is the common spirituality of every religion. And through the yogic process, we can understand that. And today's talk, of course, we want to focus about the temple, right? So, and then, of course, Ratna also is the 5th author over here, and you know her very well. So now, let's look at how, when people come into the temple, what do people say? Generally, people will say, hey, I feel good when I come to the temple. How many of you feel that way over here? And that's why you come here often, right? So the thing is basically, why do you think it makes you feel good? Any thoughts over here?
Positive vibrations.
Positive vibrations. What else?
Peaceful.
Peaceful. Okay. So you describe these things. But what exactly are those positive vibrations? And many of you know that when we establish a temple and you establish a vigraha, the murti over there, we actually say we do prana pratishtha for that, right? So the prana pratishtha that is done over there, typically in a South Indian temple, they do it with the kumbhabhishekam and all of that with which it is done, right? So the thing is basically, what exactly is prana pratishtha? Right? Let's ask this question. We say each one of you have prana in you, and that's why you're alive, right? Whereas the chair you're sitting on, is there any prana there? No. But on the other hand, the murti, the vigraha that has been established over there, you say that within that vigraha there is prana, there is vibration, right? So what exactly is that prana? And that is the vibration that people feel, right? Now, some of you who have the experience, you may find that when you come near another person, you can feel some vibrations. You go into a place where there is a yogi meditating, you may feel some vibration. By the same token, you go somewhere else and you don't feel like going over there because whatever is there or the people who are there, the vibration doesn't suit you, right? So the thing is basically you feel the vibrations, and that's what makes you come. Come right in front, Meenakshi. So now, why different people feel vibrations differently, right? Why? Because some vibrations are conducive to you, some are not, right? In general, people will feel in a place like a temple or certain sanctified places, anybody who can feel vibrations will feel a positive kind of peaceful vibration. But different people will feel different kind of vibration when they go in front of different vigrahas. The different sanctums you have up there for Ganesha, for Mahalakshmi. If you go to different places, you may feel different kind of vibrations, right? So what does it mean? Why is it different vibrations? Because each one, the way in which when the prana pratishtha was done, the way in which you have invoked whichever devata over there, that kind of vibration has come over there, and whichever is more suited for you, you will feel more attracted and more vibration for you. That is the concept of Ishta Devata that comes from the Vedic and Hindu tradition that many people are familiar with, right? So let's look a little further to understand these vibrations and all of these in a deeper way. And in order to understand that, we first need to go into the yoga view of spiritual, the nature of our spiritual existence, right? So all of spiritual existence, according to yoga, and this is the same thing that comes to Vedanta or anywhere, it starts with Ishvara or God, right? Ishvara is the yoga word that is used. Also the word Sattva Purusha is used, and Parama Purusha and things like that are used. But then the generic word you use in English language when you say is God, right? And out of God as the root source comes the first dynamic program of creation. And that dynamic program of creation, first program that comes out, is called Prakriti in yoga. When we say Prakriti in yoga, the word pra, standing as a prefix in Sanskrit, refers to the root word prakrishta. What is the meaning of prakrishta? You see, the word pra as a prefix in Sanskrit, you will come across in many, many places. Now, for instance, people will say Gyan, Vigyan, and Pragyan. And, the rover that is going in the moon over there is called, the Chandrayaan 3 is called what? Pragyan, right? And then there is the chess player who is the young fellow, 17-year-old, who is been in the news lately. His name is what? Pragyananda or something, right? So the word, the pra that comes, a word is prakrishta. Prakrishta means that which is connected into the root of everything. So anywhere you see the word pra coming in, it means it is directly connected with Ishvara, the source and root of everything. So Kriti means, many of you know the concept of music. And in music, they will say any composition, they will call it as a kriti, right? And when you call it as prakriti, a composition that has been created that is connected into the root source Ishvara. That is the concept of prakriti. And out of prakriti, the process of creation and everything, and you call that prakriti also as Mahamaya, you call it as the Divine Mother, Durga, Mahalakshmi, all of these, the female form is what you give to, because it is the female form that gives birth to life, right? So Prakriti is a yoga word, but from a perspective of a generic system that you relate to the Hindu system, you call it as the Divine Mother by whatever name you like, Mahamaya, Durga, Mahalakshmi, and this temple is all about Mahalakshmi, right? So from that first Prakriti, the first thing that Prakriti does is, by the way, we have to all understand that Prakriti is closely connected with Ishvara, the source, God, right? And in fact, any time when creation has to take place, no creation can take place without the impetus of Ishvara, right? And so and one of the things that in various philosophical things that is spoken about is the early part in creation is time, space, and the intent of Ishvara. There are different names given for in different, in the Sankhya philosophy, the intent is called Mahat. Okay, but nevertheless, let's come back here. The first creation that is done is a cosmic processor. And the word for a processor in yoga is called Chitta. Chitta only means a processor. And many of you have heard about the term Satchidananda, right? You have the word Sat, Chit, and Ananda, right? So, what is a Sat Chit? A Chit now that has no more any programs over there to run, there are no more karma kleshas over there, so that Chitta can transcend and connect into the highest, into the state of Ananda that goes with the connection with Ishvara, right? So that the idea of a Chitta is only a processor. Now, the processor, the first program that is processed by the processor with the intent coming out of Prakriti creates many small processors, each being allocated a certain part of the program of cosmic creation. Like each one of us over here is a processor of the cosmic entity, right? But at the stage that we are in over here, this is at a subtle zone. It is the zone before you were born where you were, and when you leave the body where you go, that is the zone we are talking about. So you're in a very subtle zone, that is, you can think of it as the fourth dimension. You're not in the three-dimensional world. From that fourth dimension, there is the vibrations that come into the three-dimensional world. When they manifest in the three-dimensional world, they first come as electromagnetic frequency. That is what is subtle vibration. So when an Ayurvedic doctor looks and with 3 fingers and assesses your pulse over there, they are looking at the vibration. And today we understand it. With equipment that we have over here, we can actually measure the vibration in the form of electrophotonic imaging, simply electromagnetic frequency that it's flowing through. That is the vibration that we are measuring. Okay, so that is what is the subtle body vibration that comes out, and that electromagnetic frequency running through you creates the gross body. So if you think in terms of how a fetus is formed in the womb, actually many of you may find it very interesting. Anybody here know about anybody who went through in vitro fertilization? No. Okay. It's very interesting. If you ever come across a physician, a doctor who has been involved in the in vitro field, the artificial insemination, right, field, you'll find that what they will, you'll find that, people who don't get a child, they go to this thing. What happens is, when they look at each independent person, a woman has good eggs, the man has good sperms, and they bring in, and there are many cases, when we say many cases as a percentage, it's very small, okay? But there are many cases, but the small percentage, where they still, the egg and the sperm don't come together, and there is no formation of a zygote and a new baby coming on, right? You've heard of that? Now, if you talk to a physician in that field, the fertility physician, they will tell you, when the sperm comes near the egg, the sperm simply falls asleep and dies. It is unable to penetrate the egg. Why? The vibrations are not suitable. So everything is about the nature of vibrations. And that vibration, once it comes in, that is what creates the zygote, and then the expansion of the fetus and everything that happens, a life form. And at every moment in time, it is the vibration that is not only making you think the way you are, and what all the activities of the body that is happening, whether your automatic breathing, your heart pumping, or for that matter, new cells forming as the dead cells fall off from your skin, all of that is happening at the subtle level, but it manifests in the physical zone, right? That is the vibration that you look at. So the electromagnetic frequency and the gross body is actually in the physical world, the three-dimensional world that we all know, right? So now there is a very interesting and different aspect of a sentient being like you and me versus the chair you're sitting on. Even the chair has a subtle body, in the sense the chair has in the cosmic, in the zone B over there, the chair has a presence over there. The chair also has a chitta. Chair also has a chitta, but you have something that the chair doesn't have, that in yoga is called chetana. And what is that chetana? The chetana is that any sentient being like you and me, or the plants and anything alive, has a direct connection into Ishvara. So each sentient being is at the same time connected into Prakriti, as well as a second connection into Ishvara. And this is what in yoga it is said, that if you can silence the impact of the connection into Prakriti, then you become aware of Ishvara, and you have access to the infinite knowledge of Ishvara, right? So this is how you would express it from a yogic perspective. Now, of course, when we have each of us, we can understand now, if you look at the chart over here, that B2 level, the B level is the zone of Prakriti, and the B2 is where each one of us individually are there, and everything over there is alive, but they are alive in a subtle zone B, but the manifestation of the alive sense in which you and I are over here is at zone C, right?
We can't see very clearly B and C, so if you can point out a little bit, that would help, because it's not very clearly seen.
Okay. So the thing is,
There.
let me just make sure, is there anybody who needs further clarification of how the subtle electromagnetic frequency here, the gross body over here, and this green box, which is the gross body, the subtle body, and your causal body. This is where all your programs, your karma klesha, all of them together on one hand is connected to Prakriti, on the other hand to Ishvara. Everybody clear? Any question, you can pause. Okay. So coming back now, we can, there is another chat over here. Oh, okay, that's fine. Everybody can hear me well. Good. Okay. So now, coming back over here, the question I'm going to ask you is, all of you know, now we recognize the unique element of a sentient entity that has prana, right? As we say, the chair doesn't have prana, but you do, right? So what we say, the nature of it is, it has ability to connect beyond this thing into Ishvara potential, right? So what happens is when we say we have done prana pratishtha to the murti up there, right? So in that murti doesn't walk or talk like you and I do, right? But what is the kind of prana pratishtha that has been done over there? Well, what has been done is, to some degree, through the process of all the mantras and the rituals that have done as part of that process, they have been able to induce a vibration in it, whereby that vibration is able to connect into zone B, not simply zone B, to the highest part of zone B, and possibly even to Ishvara. We'll discuss a little bit as we go along further. I'll say it in a short way. You see, anytime you have a temple for the Divine Mother, then in which case it's connecting to Prakriti. Whereas on the other hand, if you have a temple or a Vigraha that is focused on the root source, okay, and the root source is even beyond the Divine Mother, that is you can call it as the Ardhanarishwara or the Ishvara, whatever, then in which case it can potentially connect over there. There is a difference. So the thing is, the same thing happens, like for example, when people have pyramids, they go and sit inside a pyramid, they can find a higher level of vibration. The pyramid will only take you higher into the space of Prakriti. It will not take you into Ishvara. Only a sentient entity can access Ishvara. When you're using Rudrakshas and you're using crystals and various other things to empower you, they can only take you higher into Prakriti. So what it is from the Tantra system of getting into Prakriti, through Prakriti you seek the connection into Ishvara. So in the Tantra system they will often speak of that. But what happens is, you don't need to go through the indirect element. In yoga, while you have that connection, you can also go directly to Ishvara if you quieten the effect of Prakriti, right? Through the purification process. So now that we are going to repeat this in a more of a ways in which, so let's go on to the next slide. So I have already described the place of the temple for you. In the place of the temple for you is, the temple Vigraha has a chitta, and it has been imbued with all the vibrations whereby it could be connected into Prakriti and to Ishvara, or only one zone to Prakriti, right? And so what happens is, it is how you conceive, that is where it will go. That is why every vibration, every deity you think of has a different vibration, each devata. So you can understand the concept of Ishta Devata I have already explained, and in yoga there is a very interesting concept. The interesting concept is, if any chitta is bereft of raga and dvesha, raga means attachment, dvesha means aversions, which means any chitta that is not affected by anything, that is, they have no desires of their own, right? Then in which case, if people go near that chitta, or if they invoke that chitta, what is the concept of invocation? How do you invoke, any of you? Have you ever tried invocation? You have done it in the temple, but you may not realize it. Have you done Gayatri Avahayami, Savitri Avahayami, Saraswati Avahayami? Have you done that?
Yeah.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Invoking inside us.
Inside you. Invocation means you invite and feel the spirit inside you, right? So what happens is, if you go near one, it has almost the same effect. But on the other hand, even if it is not there near you, you can invoke it from anywhere. You can feel with it, right? So what happens is, in yoga there is a concept that if a chitta is pure chitta, without any attachments, if you invoke it or you think of it, then in which case your own cosmic connection will get enhanced. Okay? Any of you here know about the daily Sandhyavandana practice and the priests and people do? Okay, some of you know, right? The Sandhyavandana practice, many people will say it is about meditation with Gayatri Mantra, right? If you only think of it as meditation with Gayatri Mantra, it can never be a deep enough meditation. In fact, there are a few other precursor key elements that go with it. And one very important precursor element is the invocation of Gayatri, Savitri and Saraswati. And what does it mean, Gayatri? Gayatri means, Gaya refers to the physical body. Any time you use the word tri, right? Like when we use the word tantra, tra refers to going beyond. So Gayatri is the spirit that takes you beyond the physical body. Then Savitri is the one that is able to energize you and take you beyond the energy of the sun. Savita, beyond the energy of this thing. And then, so as often it is said, taking you beyond the Surya Mandala, as they say. Okay. Then the third one is Saraswati. The concept of Saraswati is the one who is the bestower of wisdom. And so when you do Gayatri, Savitri and Saraswati, you're going into the highest source of knowledge. So the Saraswati is the access point. We'll talk a little more about the concept of the highest source of knowledge in a moment, because we often think of, there is another, if you are familiar with a concept not too far away from here, is the Arsha Vidya Peetham over here, right? Some of you may know. And there is a Dakshinamurti temple, right? And what is the concept of Dakshinamurti and how it fits in? I'll give you a little bit of a perspective into that as we go along. So all of this, when we think in terms of our Murti over here, we call it as a yantra in the technical terminology of Tantra. Actually, the three words that go Tantra, Yantra, Mantra. Actually, you could reverse it as Yantra means anything that has been imbued by energy that will actually imbued by vibrations that will connect you into a higher platform. And Tantra means that which takes you beyond the Tanu. Tanu means the body, anything that takes you beyond, the same concept of Gayatri. And Mantra is what takes you beyond the mind. Manas is the mind, what takes you beyond the mind. So when you have a Murti established, the technical from a Tantra perspective is a yantra that is able to enable you to take you beyond. And a yantra by the nature has to have prana imbued in it. So the temple, so why do we, if you look at a temple like yours over here, this is a picture of your temple, right? You see over here something very interesting. You can see the driveway to the road over there, Yorkland Road over there. From there, if you enter in, the temple doesn't have entrance. It's not right over there in front. The temple is in a completely different orientation and direction. Any sense as to why that is the case? No? Okay.
It's a combination, right? The Vastu concept as well as the cardinal direction. Oh, right.
Okay. So the key thing is, every temple that you probably have seen is probably facing the east, right? Whereas the Dakshinamurti is facing the south, not too far away. And if you go to Kerala, they have something called the Vairagya Bhagavati. And that will always face west. Okay? So each direction is imbued with different kind of vibrations and nature. And typically, the temples that are generally constructed, most of the temples you will find, are facing east, because east is what promotes dharma, as they say. What exactly does it mean? Each one of us come into this body is to fulfill the purpose of our life. The life given to us is to fulfill the cosmic purpose that has been made, that makes us who we are. And that is why people look up their horoscope to tell, what is your trajectory in life and where you're going, what is your swadharma and all of that. In fact, from a yogic perspective, we say that you don't have to go looking for your swadharma. Your swadharma comes and stands in front of you. All you have to do is, you have to do justice to it. But then, to understand your swadharma, you need quietness and peace and that meditative connectivity. So the ability to let go and absorb. Don't bring the mind in the way. Let go of the mind so that you can sense what the cosmic message is, what you call the voice of the conscience, right? So the thing is, you see, the sun rises in the east, and the energy for everything in life form that you see on earth comes from the sun's energy, right? So that orientation, when you're focused in that promotes dharma to fulfill the purpose of who you are. So from a Tantra Shastra perspective, when the temple faces east and you're facing west, then in which case we're looking at the Murti, then the Murti is helping you to fulfill your dharma. Now, on the other hand, opposite side of it is Vairagya. That is, why is it Vairagya? Because you don't care about anything. You're letting go of everything. That is Vairagya, right? And on the other hand, if the temple entrance is facing southward, that means the Murti is facing southward, it's called Dakshina Murti, the endower of knowledge. Whereas on the other hand, if it is facing north, it is considered the opposite of knowledge is Aishwarya. You can actually think of it this way. You can think of the knowledge seekers who are working in research labs and those who commercialize it and make money on the other side. Okay? So you can see the knowledge seeker is jnana, and the other side is applying that for Aishwarya purpose or whatever, Aishwarya. So this is how the Tantra Shastra configuration comes in with respect to a temple and why it is constructed in this kind of a way, right? So does the form or conception matter? In other words, if you think of the form as Mahalakshmi over here, or the conception of like when we talk about Gayatri, Savitri or Saraswati or whatever, does the conception matter? Yes, it does. How does it matter? It limits or expands your understanding. In fact, very few people understand that when we talk of so many Devis and Devatas in the Indian system, in fact, the Hindu system as we understand today, the Vedic system that was created by Vyasa, right? It is actually a conglomeration of 33 different religions of ancient India. And each of those religions, they had their own devatas. So all of them were brought together as one single spiritual universal concept. That's why Sanatana Dharma, it's called Sanatana Dharma, is the eternal truth, because the spirituality is one. And so what happens is, in Maharashtra, when they worship Ganpati, it's worshipped as Mahaganpati. And what is the concept of Mahaganpati? It's not the same as Vigneshwara. The concept of Mahaganpati is the same as Ishvara. So when somebody worships in whatever form, but they think in terms of the highest Ishvara, in whatever form they look, that's where they go. Right? So this is the concept of how the conceptions work. Okay? So anytime if you think in terms of form, as this is the form and this is the nature, you limit yourself. That is why in the highest reaches of yoga, they say you want to go beyond form and name to the nirguna concept. And any form and name is called saguna, whereas the highest is nirguna, beyond of all the forms. But when we say nirguna, there is the word ni, that prefix comes. People often think that opposite. It's not opposite. The word is Nikrishta. Nikrishta means a special form. Nirguna means a special form. And what is the meaning of special form? It is, what happens is, when you think of the word Nirguna, it means you give characteristic, that which is the source of everything, that from which everything comes into being, that into which everything dissolves into, that. You don't give it a name and form, but there are still some characteristic associated. That is the nature of Nirguna. In fact, in yoga, we often say that yogas chitta vritti nirodha. You have probably heard of it. Nirodha doesn't mean to oppose. Chitta vritti nirodha means, chitta vritti is the activation of the chitta. Nirodha means to deal with it in a, oppose it in a special way. And what is the meaning of opposing it in the special way? Not getting affected by the activities of Prakriti, so that you still it momentarily, so that you can connect it into Ishvara. So the word Ni refers to Nikrishta. And that is why often the word Nirodha is defined as regulation. You regulate, not oppose, blind oppose, right? So now, but we have to also remember the final goal of every theistic system is to establish connectivity with God, right? So in other words, you can have a lot of crutches to begin your journey, but the highest journey of any spiritual system is to connect with Ishvara, God. In whatever by name or form, it doesn't matter, but that is the ultimate this thing. So what are the crutches for temporary yogic connectivity that people can use? Well, you will find in a temple, the common thing you do is lighting a lamp. And lighting the lamp has the same connotation of the prana or the energy that the sun gives you, right? And in fact, what happens is, when a lamp is lit, the fire in a traditional, Sanatan Dharma system, there are three kinds of fires that are described in the Vedic system. Anybody know what they are? Anything that is used for a sacred purpose is called ahavaniya. And anything that is used for household cooking and things is called garhapatya. Whereas on the other hand, anything that when a person passes away and they light a lamp and keep near it, right? That's called dakshinagni. Okay? But all of them is all about vibration to fulfill the purpose. And so when we do for any special spiritual this thing, we light a lamp because we want to energize that whatever we are doing over there, which is for a spiritual purpose, right? Now, clothing is very important, and very often people don't even realize it. In the traditional Indian system, no clothing will be worn if it does not have a border. If you look at any, whether it is a dhoti that the priests wear or the saris women wear, there will always be a border. In fact, a metallic content border is considered important, but even a border with a different color is considered important, is acceptable. Okay? Because what happens is, the border holds the vibration energy. So if you are in meditation, the border in the clothing holds and within that, there are certain kind of clothing which are more preferred, like silk and wool are preferred to other kinds of clothing, right? In fact, people don't even realize it. Even in Western clothing, every clothing must have a folded border. Whether you look at a shirt or whether you look at a pant, you look at a coat or a collar, everything will be folded inside and a stitch made in over there. Because that is how you hold energy in this thing. So clothing, lighting a lamp are all very little, as you can see, that they are simple crutches to increase your vibration so that you can connect better, right? Now what else are there? There are gems, crystals, rudraksha, and many of you have heard of all of these things, right? There is the role of time and space. In fact, the role of time and space is, you know, that anything is done, you look in terms of the Jyotish, whether this is the best day, time, space, what is the Muhurta and all of that before you do things, right? Then there is the role of shapes, and not only shapes and colors too. Actually, the colors are more about borders, and colors make a difference. And so you know that almost every temple, any sacred place you can think of, they will have a conical or a pyramidal kind of a shape on the top, because that is how the vibrations and all of them connect. Then we have already spoken about the power of invocation. The power of invocation is the power of positive thinking. Your mind itself invokes and everything happens, right? And then, of course, grace of God is something way beyond. And then we have already spoken about how, if you come near an elevated soul, how you can feel the vibrations, right? And people often think in terms of the gurus, right? Now, the Yoga Sutra is very clear. There is no guru other than Ishvara. So people who come in front of you, they are not gurus. You can learn from a lot of people. If a person from whom you learn anything, whether it is a math teacher or an English teacher or a person who teaches you yoga, they are all in the same category as people from whom you learn. Okay? But what it is the yogic concept is, the person came to teach you, or you went to that person, the person agreed to teach you, is because your time had come and God as the guru had directed that to happen. That is where the guru of Ishvara comes in, right? But at the same time, there is a role of priests in this thing. They are considered conduits. When we say conduits, means if you speak to the priests upstairs, and priests are often also referred as guru. Like, for example, next Wednesday, there is the annual Shravani Purnima, on the day when the thread changing and all of that happens, right? When that happens, the priests with whom you work and all of that, they are treated as a guru over there, right? So the thing is, basically, the role of the priest is that they are a conduit to the higher connection. In fact, when you go to do any puja in the temple, they will take sankalpa from you, and on your sankalpa, they will go and do the puja over there, right? So that concept of the priest as a conduit, the understanding is the priest is a more purified person who has higher connectivity, and so the person can carry that for him. You were going to say something?
Yeah, where does the acharyas come into place?
Okay, but keep that as a question in mind. We will do that, talk about that in the end, right? Because what it is, I'll say it briefly here, but we'll discuss later. The concept of this acharya and mathas was not part of the Sanatana Dharma system. It is something that came as a result of the influence of Buddhism, where they started creating all these institutions. However, the concept that Shankaracharya started this building of this was probably the reason why the original elements of the Sanatana Dharma were preserved. Okay, so there is a benefit for them, but they were not originally part of this thing. Okay, so short answer for that. Okay, so coming back now, that you see the role of the priests and all of that. Now, there are many other things also that are possible. Like, for example, if from a yogic perspective, it is recognized that even psychedelic drugs can have some effect. Okay, but those are not recommended. In fact, what it is the yogic recommendation is use minimal crutches to reach the higher elements, and a crutch like our temple over here with all of this is perhaps the best crutch you can use. But then your final goal is to go beyond all crutches, where use the crutch to connect, and when you connect, what happens? You are able to understand your swadharma. Fulfill your swadharma with the attitude of being a pure observer, and that cleanses you. And in that purification, once you're fully purified, you don't need any crutches. Okay? So many of you know about Ramana Maharshi, right? Now, in the case of Ramana Maharshi, He was a person, he didn't do anything. He simply had the experience of who am I? He asked himself, he had his answer, and he gave up everything, he walked away. Right? So, if you people who went to Ramana Maharshi, often people will say, just ask yourself, who am I? And figure it out for yourself. Right? And of course, 99.9999% of the people who go over there, they ask, who am I? They don't find anything. Right? So what happens is, the key part is, for people whose nadis who are completely purified, for them if they ask who am I, they will know. But most people are not completely purified. Right? So what happens is, so they need to go through the purification process by fulfilling the purpose for which they are born, their dharma. And that is the reason that a place like temple that promotes dharma, that creates the awareness within, you fulfill your dharma, your purpose of life, and thereby you become purified enough. And that is why you always take blessings from a purified person. That is why in the Indian system, if somebody is of an older age, going through their life cycle, they have expended more of their karmas and hopefully they are more purified. That's why in general you take blessings from elders. But then you're also allowed to take blessings from younger people, like a priest or other purified souls.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing is, you see, this is the concept that comes in, and this is very, very well laid out in Kashmir Shaivism. In Kashmir Shaivism, it is said that people can be in one of 4 stages with respect to their spiritual, connection. Somebody who is completely pure, they have to mentally ask, who am I? That is called Shambhopaya. Upaya means the solution. Upaya of Shambhu is called Shambhopaya. Then, for people on whom there are still karmas left in them, actually in yoga, there is a distinction between karmas and kleshas. What is the distinction? In the first creation that takes place, the program allocated to each sentient being is called klesha. Whereas, when through their reactivity, when they create karmas, reactivity creates karmas. If you look at something, you feel good about it, you create positive karma. You look at something and you have regrets, why did this happen or whatever, you create negative karmas. Right? So, people who only have karmas and no kleshas, for them, by using mantra jap, they can get over it, and that is called Shaktopaya. By using the thread of Shakti, vibration creates is the path of Shakti, right? Then the third kind of people, it's called Anavopaya. What is Anavopaya? Anavopaya means that which is related to Anu, which is the smallest particle, which means anybody who has any klesha left in them, but if there is only little klesha left, which can be fulfilled in this lifetime, and maybe there are other karmas left, for them first they need to go fulfill whatever the purpose, for the purpose of swadharma, completing their swadharma, they need to get rid of the klesha by fulfilling the needs of it. Then they are ready to go for mantras. So that is called Anavopaya. And then the fourth one is called Anupaya. Anupaya means there is no upaya, they'll have to go into a rebirth. Why? Because their klesha load is so high that it won't be fulfilled in this lifetime. It has to be for another lifetime needed. So this is the way in which it is explained in Kashmir Shaivism. So it gives you a lot of insight in terms of understanding how we can understand. So now it is very important to understand that there are 2 elements when it comes to when we work in any spiritual process. One is connectivity and the other is intent. So connectivity and intent are 2 different things. Connectivity is only the connectivity, the intent is the message that is going through. Think of your mobile phone. In your mobile phone, when you dial a number, it only establishes the connection. After that, only when you speak, the intent goes through. Right? So when we are connecting in the spiritual domain, there are 2 elements. The connectivity is there in the temple. But then if you have a particular intent, you do the sankalpa with the priest for Ayur Arogya Siddhyartham, whatever this thing for which you are go and do the whatever puja that you want to do, right? The archana or whatever, right? So this kind of this thing, there are two different things, and the understanding the intent is very important. Hopefully the next slide has it exactly. So the intent is very important, because what happens is the intent is to fulfill your dharma, and it should be done in such a way where it is done without attachment to the results, right? Without attachment. So the spiritual wellness focus of a temple and yoga is represented in these two aspects. One is to fulfill your dharma, that is being true to one's conscience. Another way of putting it is in which it said is dharmo rakshati rakshita, right? Which is simply being true to your conscience. That's how you fulfill your dharma. Second is you let it happen without effort, without you thinking I am the doer. You just let it happen, as opposed to thinking I am the one making it happen. In which case nothing sticks to you. There is no karma attachment, right? So that is how learning to yourself to become a pure instrument of whatever the cosmic flow. So this is how
What happens to klesha at that time? Let it happen.
then the klesha dissipates itself. Kleshas and karmas dissipate themselves. Kleshas and karmas are only programs attached to the spiritual being, right? What is called the causal body, right? They'll just expand themselves as you fulfill your dharma. So now we have a general concept of wellness in the physical world, where people think if you go to your doctor, they're thinking of your physical wellness. Oh, your heart is pumping right, or whatever. Those are the things that they're looking at. But on the other hand, only in this last 40-50 years, in the modern medicine, allopathic medicine, they are beginning to realize your mental health can impact your physical being. So people who have depression typically can have cardiovascular issues, endocrine issues, and all the issues that come as a result of mental health problem, right? But what we understand is, when your spiritual health is in good place, when you're well connected, when you have spiritual wellness, that is, spiritual wellness is being true to your conscience and having the attitude that I am only an instrument of the cosmic flow, not attaching yourself. Spiritual wellness leads to mental wellness, and that leads to physical wellness. So that is the concept of total wellness and the relevance of the temple for total wellness, right? So now that we are connected the dots over here, you can see the three levels of wellness: the spiritual wellness impacting the spiritual wellness, being true to our causal body. The causal body is the one, the individual chitta 1 and B2, and then that of course leads to the mental wellness, which is vibrations. And by the way, because it is vibrations, that is why people can actually find a biochemical for you. If you're depressed, they give you an antidepressant, right? But the thing is, basically, they could never tell why it is you cannot, if your mind can create the right biochemicals in you, why do you want to put it in your mouth? It is because you do not have the spiritual wellness, and that is why you have a mental health problem. And by the way, the relevance of the temple is so important, because today, if you look in the world, a high percentage of people, their real problem emanates from mental health issues. And by the way, the thing is, when we think of mental health, commonly we don't think of mental health, most people don't think of it in an active way. But when people have erratic behavior, if they ever went to a psychiatrist, they will be their patient for the rest of their life. Erratic behavior, somebody who is looking not happy, depressed, oh, go to a counselor, this thing, they will probably drive you nuts over there. But on the other hand, if you come to the temple and if you learn to evoke your spiritual awareness, your mental health problem slowly goes away. Right? So the concept of spiritual wellness is so relevant in today's world. Whether you come to the temple, whether you find it in your religion, or you find it from other meditative practice or whatever you do, that spiritual wellness is the driver of mental health and physical health. And of course, you can understand that a temple is a place of spirituality that gives you the first place to deal with it, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
So some people claim that spirituality is not same as religiousness and following the rituals. So they say there's no point in going to temple and believing in all these idols, and so it's more important that you go beyond.
Let's understand something. Every religion, the core of every religion is spirituality. Now, once the person realizes the spirituality, they don't need the temple after that. But until they have reached that point, as I mentioned over here, that the concept of saguna versus nirguna, right? In the initial stages, you need crutches to hold on to, okay? And the temple is our crutch for most people to begin with, okay? If a person if a person negates everything and they goes away, it's only a question of time when they will get into trouble. And what kind of trouble that people get into in the affluent society we live in? The first place where they go to is to alcohol, and the next place they go to is drugs. And because they're looking at everything is in an affluent society, this is where they go. This is why the spiritual anchor is important. Unless the person has reached a higher level stage where they don't have a need for crutches of temple and other, vibrational this thing. For when people say, I don't need any of this or believe this thing, more often it results from a confusion where on one hand, people here are telling them, believe in this, and believe in this, and they say they don't want to believe in it. In fact, this is the reason I tell all the folks in the temple community who are there, if you want to keep the temple going for the second generation, don't ask people to believe. Ask people to experience. Come to this temple, sit quietly, experience the calmness and nice you feel. That's why you come to the temple. That is why we need to focus on experiential awareness as opposed to belief system. But belief can be powerful for those who want to believe in. But belief can only take you this far. Beyond that, it is the experiential aspect that will take you even higher. Right? Okay. So the World Health Organization actually has a very interesting definition of health. And when you understand that, you will quickly understand the World Health Organization is actually building within it a concept of swadharma in a very interesting way. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. What is the concept of social well-being? Social well-being means we are not here born to do nothing in the world. We have to interact in society to do our swadharma. That is the embedded element that you see over here, right? So let's understand a little bit now, going a little bit deeper into the different kind of vibrations that flow within us that helps you to go towards the experiential aspect of yoga that is very much true to everything that we do in any spiritual or any religious setup. Okay? So in an individual over here, any individual that you look at, there are different vibrations flowing through different channels. These are called the nadis in the yoga system. So along what is called the prana nadi or the mukhya prana nadi, the prana that gives you life is flowing. And what is it from an anatomical perspective? From an anatomical perspective, it is called the central nervous system, the brain and the spine. And in the brain and the spine, if you ask doctor, people who understand it, they will say that it is the brain and the spine that is actually working through the system to make sure you're always breathing and your heart is pumping and all your cells in the body are well nourished and there is life in there, right? And Today, of course, they have the technology where they can put you on an ECMO machine, these heart-lung machine, where even when the person has no consciousness, they can put the person on this heart-lung machine where all the cells in the body are nourished because they're pumping in oxygen and they're giving nutrients over there and everything is being distributed in there, but the person never wakes up. If they disconnect the machine, the person, everything is dead. So today's definition of a person being dead is brain dead, which means prana is gone, which means the prana nadi is no longer functioning. Okay, so the central nervous system, the brain and the spine, is the prana nadi. That is where the prana is regulated in the body. Okay, the next level of communication is what is called the samana vayu. The samana vayu runs through the sushumna nadi. And the Sushumna Nadi is often referred to as the central channel. And in yoga it is said, the flow in the Sushumna Nadi, the Samana Vayu, is the integration of the flows in the Ida and Pingala Nadi. The Ida Nadi is your inner being, the left side. And the right side is considered the Pingala Nadi, which is the external elements. This is why commonly we say, we always externally deal with anything with the right hand, not with the left. The left is your inner being, the right is the external transaction, right? So both of these together, when they integrate within, that is when your Swadharma flows. Each one of us have our innate program, but the innate program is relevant to what the external world delivers for you. That is where you fulfill your Swadharma. That is the concept of Samanavayu, to fulfill your Swadharma. And how do we understand today with respect to the medical sciences? Before the turn of the millennium, when the two famous scientists, Craig Ventnor and Francis Collins, who were both Nobel laureates who won the Nobel Prize for mapping the human genome sequence, right? Before that happened, there was a thinking that the genes are what mattered. But genes is your inner being, right? Now, what happened is after they have they had done the mapping of the human genome, they understood genes alone don't matter. It is the gene expression that matters. What is the gene expression? You have the genes and you have the external factors, what are called the epigenetic factors. And what are the epigenetic factors? The thoughts in your mind, the food you put in, the air you breathe, the company you keep, all of them are epigenetic factors, right? So the epigenetic factors interacting with your inner dimension, your inner program, your genes, creates what is called the gene expression. And the gene expression is what is the samana vayu. Okay? And when the gene expression is in sync with the cosmic plan, then you're fulfilling your Swadharma. Okay? So that is the samana vayu. Now let's look at the udana vayu. And by the way, these are the panchapranas you deal with all the time. You know, even when you do a puja and the naivedya that is given, prana is swaha, apana is swaha, vyana is swaha, udana is swaha, samana is swaha, brahmana is swaha. Right? What you're doing, right? So the thing is basically, the udana vayu is the cosmic, the vibration that connects beyond the physical body into the cosmic domain, into your spiritual body, your causal body. That goes into zone B of that earlier chart that you saw. So the udana vayu that is connected, actually it runs through the front of the body, and where you see that star over there, let me go up, where you see that star-like thing, the red star over there, along the red line is the udana vayu flowing, right? We call the entire nadi as the atma nadi, and that red star you see over there is your place of your cosmic transmitter. And by the way, this is very much described in the Vedas. And only thing is you have not realized it. You know, in the temple chanting over here, you do something called the Narayana Suktam, right? Sahasrashirisham Devam Vishwaksham Vishwashambhuvam Vishwam Narayanam Devam Aksharam Paramam Padam, like that you go on, right? Vishwada Paramani, all of that you go on. And then later on comes Adho Nishtya Vitasyante Nabhyam Uparitishthati Jwalamala Kulam Bhati Vishwasya Yatanam Mahat. Right? So what you're saying is, Adho means downward facing. Adho Nishtya, Nishtya means from the Nishtha means the Adam's apple. Adho, downward facing from the Adam's apple. Vitasyante means if you stretch your fingers like this from the tip of the thumb to the end of the little finger, this is what is called Nishtya. Adho Nishtya Vitasyante Nabhyam Upari, above the Nabhi. Nabhi say upar. Nabhyam Upari Tishtati. Tishtati means is established. And what is established? Jwalamala Kulam Bhati Vishwasya Yatanam Mahat. That is, it is like Jwalamala means concentric rings of fires. Mala is a ring, like this thing. Jwalamala, ring of fire. Kulam means a whole family of Jwalamalas. Jwalamala Kulam Bhati Vishwasya Yatanam Mahat. It can reach the entire Vishwam. So what is it describing? It's describing a transmitter. The waves that connect. A transmitter is able to, the waves that come in your mobile phones, they go in every direction. It will find wherever it needs to reach, right? So that is how that is our cosmic transmitter over there, right? So this thing. So that is the Udana Vayu that enables connection beyond the body. In fact, what happens is the cosmic transmitter works in a very interesting way. And today in the scientific discipline, what we say is each one of us is a bundle of vibration, which is what makes our chitta vritti, as we say in yoga. And if we find the equal and opposite vibration, it silences everything. When it silences everything, that is when the chitta becomes quiet, you connect it to Ishvara. You saw that in the earlier diagram that I mentioned, right? So what happens is that connection that happens, when you have your inner vibrations and you induce a mantra or with the opposite vibration. So there are two sources of vibration. Every vibration, every source of vibration must have energy to it. If there's no energy, you cannot have vibration, right? So if there are two sources of vibrations, two sources of energy, and suddenly everything becomes silent, what happens to energy? The two sources of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed, right? Law of physics. So where does the energy go? What happens is, this is something that goes as far back as Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla, those of you know from the scientific side, was the person who discovered alternate current, right? He was a genius, brilliant person, right? So Nikola Tesla described when these two sources of energy, by the way, in industrial engineering and other places, this is called harmonic vibrations, okay? When you have these two sources of a harmonic vibration silences the other vibration, and the two sources of energy, everything becomes quiet. The two sources of energy go into a different domain. They go into what are called scalar waves. That is the scientific term used, scalar waves. And the scalar waves going into a different domain, in the Vedic system, we call it as penetrating into the Dahara Akasha. Anybody heard of the Dahara Akasha concept from Vedic system? The Dahara Akasha concept is the space between the smallest space. It can permeate that, which means it goes into the fourth dimension, the dimension of the spiritual body. Okay? So this is what the Udana Prana does. Now, when we look in terms of the two others, the Apana Vayu and the Vyana Vayu, the Apana means that which connects into the musculoskeletal system of the physical body. Vyana is the one that the connection into the fluids of the body. Okay? So what happens is, those all connection happens to the chakra. The second diagram you see on the right, You see over there, the chakras, all placements over there, right? From the chakras, you have the connection of all the channels, the nadis, for the apana vayu and the vyana vayu to flow. And that is why in one yogic literature like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, they say you have 72,000 nadis. And another one called the Shiva Samhita says you have 300,000 nadis. We don't know who to believe or what are this thing. It really doesn't matter. It is really the connections that come out of the chakras to fulfill these purposes. That is connection into the musculoskeletal system, apana vayu, and the vyana into the fluids in the system. By the way, when we say this, I am talking from a higher yogic perspective. In the Ayurvedic system or any system that is created, in order for common people to apply, they create what is called rules of thumb. Okay? In the Ayurvedic rules of thumb, they will say that, for instance, the Pancha Prana, they describe it as being differently. They will say the Udana resides in the head. They will say the Prana resides in the chest. And they will say the Samana is in the navel region. And they will say that the Apana is below the navel into the lower regions. And they will say Vyana is everywhere. Okay? But these are all reductionism. When you get into the Nadi system, you can say with precision where they are and how they connect. Okay? And so in the Ayurvedic system, as you know, with 3 fingers you can actually measure where what kind of vibrations are happening within. In fact, what happens is there is a way with tight pressing and light pressing you can know what is wrong in your system. Tight pressing is considered the Prakriti, light pressing is considered your Vikriti, how you have changed away from your natural state, which means your Swadharma has become, is not in the right track, right? Then in which case they say you will have health problems. And of course, Ayurvedic practitioners who are highly experienced, by looking at the vibration, they can tell you which part of your body has a problem and how to go and correct it, right? Now, the same thing today, we can actually do it with machines. And Ratna over here in your community has a machine that's called BioWell. It does electrophotonic imaging, where if you put your finger inside the machine, it will create, your finger sits in the middle of an electromagnetic field, the tip of your finger. And it creates an aura-like image of each one of your fingers. And each aura is divided into various segments, attributing it to different organ systems. So we can actually get a quantitative number for each organ system. And there is a threshold of what it should look in order for it to be normal. If it is too high or too low, in what way it's wrong, we know that. Okay? So it can give you the reading for about 40 different organ systems. In the head, it can give you whether it is the sinuses or your eyes or ears or your cerebral zone cortex. And in your cardiovascular system, whether it is the heart muscle or the coronary artery, or whether the cerebral zone vessels, which are a good indicator of your blood pressure. So these kinds of things you can get. And in the respiratory system, it can look at your throat, it can look at, further down into your lungs and various other places. Similarly, the endocrine system, each of your major hormones, and it can look at your digestive system, it can look at your spine, and of course here, your spine plus your cerebral zone cortex is what represents the place of your central nervous system. And then it can look at your peripheral nervous system separately and your immune system, your urinogenital system. So it can measure all of these. So we can measure the instant impact. And people don't realize your vibrations act instantly. How many of you have heard of people getting a heart attack when they get a severe bad news? You have heard of it? Right? So what happens? The thing is, you see, instantly your mind, something affects it, instantly your body changes. Right? So what happens is, whatever you do in your body-mind structure instantly, or body-mind-spirit structure, instantly it will be reflected in your vibration. Okay? So if I tell you, do a pranayam, or do a meditation, or do a puja for Mahalakshmi, how does it affect you? We can instantly measure, and we can with this system, right? So this becomes the basis for what we call as measured yoga therapy. That is, we take your reading before, and we have your experience, whether it's visiting a temple or a medication or a mantra or a breathing exercise. Immediately we take the measurement after that, we know what it's doing to you. Right? So that's how we apply therapeutic methods. And for people who need the spiritual health, visit to the temple may be quite appropriate. It will keep your spiritual health in order. So now the higher model of Tantra, and people cannot even think these days. Actually, the traditional medicine system is largely focused, as you know, with respect to this kind of vibrations, right? How they, in every traditional medicine system, whether it's Chinese or whatever, they work with the three-finger system, which today we scientifically do through electrophotonic imaging. But what is beyond mind-boggling for people is, we can access your spiritual body. Can you imagine that? Now, let me ask you the following over here. Many of you believe that when you have some problem, you come to the temple, you talk to the priest, and you want to do a Sudarshana Homa or a Mahamrityunjaya Homa, this thing, a Rudra Homa or whatever for this thing, and you believe it works for you, right? Now you go to a yogi and you say, you go to this person, the blessings will heal you. How does it heal you? Where does it work through? Through the cosmic, through the spiritual body, right? If a priest can reach the spiritual body, there must be a scientific process that does that. Can we find the science? We have found the science, and we can access that. And in other words, we can access the B2. At the B level, the individual chitta or the body we can access. By the way, it is very well known how it is accessed. Okay? Now in Kerala and in Bengal, Assam, where there are these inappropriate Tantra practitioners, if they wanted to cast a spell on someone, they'll say, bring me a hair of that person. Right? Now, I have the machine right over here, this machine. And you have the physical machine sitting on the table over here. Right? All I do is, I open the box over here, and I take a hair of yours. If you put in, a Ziploc bag and give it to me, I have a little bottle over here into that, and I put it in there, close the box, and I can access your causal body or spiritual body, and we can see how it is communicating with your physical body with a number of organ systems in the body. For instance, I can see how the right brain is doing for you. I can go and see what your coronary arteries, how it is well connected. I can look at this is the glial cells, that is the astrocytes, that is how the nerve cells in the brain, how they are doing for you. I can even look at your DNA if I wanted to, your chromosome level. So this is the technology that we have today, whereby we can go and access it. Okay? So what happens is, this kind of thing we can use both for assessment and also for healing, but in general we don't use it for healing. We only use it for assessment. Like in very complex cases, you see what happens is, many of you have heard that people sometimes, you have family history of heart-related problem or something. You go to the doctor, you take a reading for your EKG, nothing shows up. And if they do a stress test or a nuclear stress test, or they put an angiogram and they look, your coronary arteries are all fine and all of that. And yet, the same person, 5 days later, dies of a heart attack. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
You have. So what happens? Okay. So what happens is, I am a sitting person over here. Genetically, at this age that I am sitting here, all the male members of our family die in this age. They don't go beyond my age. I should be dead now. Okay? So what happens is, the key part is, there is nothing wrong with the coronary arteries. But what happens is, the heart muscle that works over there, The coronary arteries, actually, I don't know how many people know what coronary arteries look like. This generic audience. If you look over here, you see on the left, what you see on the left side is actually the right side of the heart, and what you see on the right side visually is the left side of the heart. The heart is protruding leftward. Okay? So now, what you see visually on the left side, which is the right side of the heart, the main red line coming down is called the right main coronary artery. Okay? And if you look on the left side over there, the right, visually on the right side, which is the left side of the heart, what is coming is called the left main. And from the left main, so as it descends, there is one going backward, is called the circumflex. And as it goes further down, it is called the LAD, left anterior descending artery. And often it is referred to as the widow maker because a lot of people get a block over there and they get a heart attack and die, right? So now what happens is these are the coronary arteries that are feeding the muscles of the heart. What is the muscle of the heart? What you see over there, like the size of a fist, right? But the wall of the heart is the muscle, right? And the muscle consists of many, many cells over there. Every cell, the blood that is coming in here, actually the blood that comes in here in these coronary arteries actually comes from the head of the aorta, where there are this comes in. And what happens is these main vessels go into little hair-like capillaries and they reach every cell in the wall of the heart. They are the one which are carrying the oxygen and glucose to give the energy to the cells of the heart, right? So with this system, we can actually, if you look down over here, there is one thing over here. This is what is called the transversal section of the cross section of the heart. In this transversal cross section of the heart, I can actually go and see how the different cells in that area are being fed by this. And so what happens is, in my case, actually, there were two of us on which we did the test over here. One was me and the other is an oncologist who is in Florida, who's part of our team. Both of us had a similar symptom where we felt that there may be a heart-related problem. But what we saw when we looked at the nadi was, the nadi basically said it is a sinus-related issue, weakness. And when we actually went and measured, we actually found the coronary arteries were fine, but whereas it was a transversal section, we can see the cells in the hearts are not getting enough flow. So what we did, we simply did a Brahmari, like we took a deep breath in, it became all right. So the thing is, you see, how we can figure with this, we can actually go and look where the problem is and what are different ways with vibration we can heal. This is a very, very powerful tool to be able to get into the causal body, to be able to go and look at it. So now let's come back over here. These are all interesting tools, and these interesting tools take a lot of, energy and time and resources for people like us to go and do from a research purpose and to examine you. But you shouldn't be in this space. If your spiritual health is in good shape, your mental health will be in good shape, and your physical health will be in good shape. So you don't need any of this. So the key that you need is how to make sure your lifestyle is such where the spiritual health, mental health, and physical health is taken care of, right? So these are 6 lifestyle observances for total wellness. And it is all about regularity in living with self-awareness and being true to your conscience. That is, dharmo rakshati rakshitaha, as well as living your attitude, as Krishna says, do your duty and have no attachment to the results, right? So, being a pure instrument of the cosmic. So the first thing that is needed is spinal alignment. You know, many of you, it doesn't matter which tradition, where you come from, right from young age, if your grandparents were there, they'll say, sit straight. You have probably heard it in your home, right? Because what happens is, If the spine is not straight, your central nervous system where the prana nadi runs, right? The prana will get affected. If the prana flow is not good, there is not enough proper vitality pervading the cells of the body. It will create some form of ill health in the long run, right? So how do you make sure your spinal alignment is in good shape? Many ways. You can consciously do that. You can do some exercising. If you do Surya Namaskar every day, you're in good shape. But then there are other ways to do it gently with chair-based exercises too. And particularly if your body is not in a shape where you can do Surya Namaskar and heavy-duty exercises, there are other ways in which you can do, which we will demonstrate. And the second one is you need to have smoothness in breathing. What is the meaning of smoothness in breathing? Breathing should always be smooth flowing in a gentle, smooth phase. Anytime there is stress in the system, if you watch, your breath will become agitated and may even become very fast. So the key part is everything should be done without stress, which is reflected in your breath, right? So there are various ways in which you can train to make sure your breath aligns well and it flows smoothly. Always make sure it is slow and smooth. There will be no stress in the system. Third element is make sure you get full sleep. In fact, it is by cosmic design that we all fall asleep. And only if you have good sleep, your Udana Vayu has enough capacity to connect into your causal body, and that is the source of your daily dose of antivirus and program updates within you. In fact, from a neurological system, it is well recognized that good sleep, good deep sleep is what promotes the strength of your immune system. Neurologist once told me, on average, if an average person does not sleep for 9 continuous days, their immune system will become completely drained, that they will fall dead. Average person not sleeping for 9 days will make the person fall dead because of the lack of the immune system being compromised. Okay, that's why I tell people never wake up with an alarm. So if those of you who wake up with an alarm, please turn them all off. And the only reason you can wake up with an alarm is if you have a flight to catch. Otherwise, let the day wait for you. Okay? We are only instruments of the cosmic flow. It is not you or the others who are making you happen. When things are right, they will all unfold. So full sleep is very important. Proper eating. What is proper eating? Eating only when you are hungry, not just eating otherwise. And the second thing about it is eating only hungry when the mind and body are in a peaceful state. If you work traditionally and if you have looked at the system, they will say you should always sit down and eat quietly in a peaceful state of mind. And never eat anything because somebody tells you it's good for your health. There is a saying, if you don't like what you eat, it will not digest in your system. Eat only what you like. Don't listen to people who tell you this is good for health and therefore you should eat it. Let your inner conscience guide you. The next element is you need to have period of inner connection within you to understand your Swadharma. A good way in which you can do is the morning period when you wake up. Make sure the first 2 to 3 hours of your day, there is no agenda built for you. The first hour of the day should be where you're only well integrated with yourself. Many of you may do it in different ways, whether you do a meditation or whether you do make your cup of tea or coffee into your meditative exercise, where you're just focused on it, enjoying yourself. And I can give you many cases for you how powerful it can be. Actually, we had one case of a young man. When I say young man, relative to many of us over here, this person was probably around 34 years old or so. So this person was in a stressed, it was quite evident the way he would always speak very fast that there was stress and things in him. So I was consulting for his company for doing wellness for their employees. So I told this person, you need to do something about your stress. When we took the readings, the stress was quite evident over there. So he said, I have no time for any practice. I have 2 children at home, and both husband and wife, both of us are working, and so we have such a busy life. So I had to ask him, tell me, how does your day begin, and which way does it, how does it flow? So he says he wakes up in the morning, and the first thing he does is he goes into his, actually the first thing he does is he checks his mobile phone. Okay, and the second thing he does is he goes into the washroom for his brushing his teeth or whatever, and this thing, and then thereafter he comes out, he gets a cup of tea for himself, and he turns on the television for the world news, and once after about 15 minutes of watching the news and finishing his cup of tea, he quickly goes to and jumps into the shower, comes out, prepares a lunch for his children, and then packs up the lunch, and they all have some breakfast, and they are all running to go to, he takes the children to the school, and this was daily life. And then evening he comes back, and the same kind of routine. So I told him, can you make one change in your life? When you wake up first thing in the morning, don't look at your mobile phone, it can wait. Second thing is, when you're having your cup of tea, don't turn on the television. Simply watch your, just enjoy your cup of tea quietly. And this person who told me, after 1 month when I met him, he said he has no time for any activity, for gym activity or anything like that. After 1 month, somehow he had found the time where he was doing daily, at the end of the day, he would go for a jog, or he'll go to the gym, and all of that he was doing. So I asked him, how did you find the time? And the key part is that quietness in the morning made him connected with himself. So he realized all the useless things he was doing and where he should be directed towards. So connecting with your inner guidance, inner connection is extremely important. And that is what, from a more ritualistic perspective, is the idea of 3 times a day Sandhyandana, what is called the Trikala Sandhyandana practice. But again, that has to be done in a systematic way. And if people do only the Gayatri Mantra, it doesn't help. It has to be done with the whole invocation and all of that together. So the last item, the 6th item over there is, be mindful of the company you keep. If you keep the company, wrong vibrations hit you. And particularly when people are impressionable, and children and all of that, they will all get into a wrong territory if that happens. Now, it's very interesting for me. The part is, if you are in a certain community where there are all these people who are very wealthy doctors, and they're talking about investment and all of that when they are meeting socially, then in which case that is the vibration that goes over there. Now, on the other hand, if people are in a party mood, it is all about the alcohol and whatever else, and drugs and all of that, it goes over there. So a temple is a good place where you will get the kind of company where the vibration will be a little more towards spiritual and a more wholesome kind of thing. So be mindful of the company you keep. And particularly for younger children, that is even more important, because they are in the company of other children in school and things like that, to make sure they keep good company. So we have our daily yoga program, where we have a program in the morning as well as in the evening. And the evening program is a chair-based program. And actually, today's program that we are doing over Zoom over here are the regular attendees over there. And I've been talking for so long that it's already 6:45. So we barely have 45 minutes for the hour and a half session that we normally do. But even then, I'm not finished. So we'll do some of these practices. We do chakra vibration for spiritual integration. We do Ujjayi pranayam for stimulating the peripheral nervous system. We do the spinal alignment with and without vibrations, and you can see the power of vibrations. We'll do it very quickly. We do balancing and energizing with certain breathing exercises, and we do meditation observances. Now, all of these that I have spoken to you about the nature of the Tantra, how it works, the role of the temple, and all of these, as well as the practices we do, all of this is in the book that we have published, which is called Yoga Concepts for Global Application. It has the role of the temple is there in the Tantra Yoga section of the book, and in the Bhakti Yoga and the temple consecration, how a temple consecration works and how prana is imbued in the system is all part of the book. Meditative aspects in temple worship, that too is discussed. And of course, even the other kind of conventionally, the exercises that you do with breathing practice or with chakra vibration or physical alignment, all of that is also there in the book. And we have comments from people who have reviewed the book, eminent people from India and other places, and they have done that. And this book is different because most people think of yoga as asana and pranayama. And the point we make is yoga is about the spiritual connection. And the asana and pranayama are very rudimentary building blocks. But the higher element is in the path of meditation and the spiritual connectivity that goes into the real yoga. And this is divided into 9 sections with 38 chapters. The first section with 7 chapters is what is yoga. Then the power of breath in yoga with 8 chapters. Hatha yoga with 6 chapters. Tantra approach to yoga is the bridge to the higher meditative experiences, because meditation by its nature are of 2 kinds. What are called in these days in scientific literature, which is described over there, mindfulness meditation and transcendental meditation. Transcendental meditation is the zone of Tantra. That is tanutrayate iti tantra. That is how you go beyond the body. Whereas on the other hand, mindfulness meditation stays within the mind-body space. And mindfulness meditation is a lower form of meditation. It has useful benefits, but it has limits on, it cannot give you the higher spiritual benefit. It will only give the body-mind benefit. And then the source of all knowledge in yoga, how it comes, the source of all knowledge. And then meditative approaches to yoga, how we scientifically it is understood, how it can be applied. Integrative understanding of yoga in daily life. It can span every aspect of life that you do. And then functional and ethical requirements in leading a yoga class. And of course, a final conclusion of the whole book in 4 chapters. In 4 pages. 1 chapter in 4 pages. So that is how the 38 chapters are laid out. So if any of you are interested, Ratna has brought some copies of the book. If any of you are interested, you can take them. So with that, the presentation is done, and now we have to go on to the yoga practice, right? So I don't know how many of our folks are still over there. So we have gone on for a long distance, so you're still over there. So today was a different kind of a presentation. So should I give a few moments for questions, or shall we go straight into practice? But the audience over here, do you have any quick questions? No questions. Any of you over there have questions?
Yeah, where to get this book from online?
Oh, okay. Just go to Amazon and put in Yoga Concepts for Global Application. And Sumanji, you're in the Washington, D.C. area, right?
Yes.
In Virginia area.
Virginia area, Northern Virginia. We will be having a session soon. And we have ordered a lot of copies of the books that are available. So when we meet over there, I think on September 27th, there is a program that is being organized, which Avni will tell us more about. And then at that time, books will be available. But if you're in a hurry, order it from Amazon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rajan, it was excellent presentation. Very good.
Excellent,
Very
excellent.
clarified.
Really enjoyed it.
Very nice.
Okay.
Really enjoyed it.
It's
Let's go into the practices now. Okay.
Naranji, it's
Excellent.
very difficult
Excellent.
for me to understand all that. but you made it very, very clear why we do yoga. I've been
Yes.
doing yoga for the past almost about 2.5 years now, and I
Yes.
really feel great. And you are really marvelous. Thank you very much.
Okay, so
Thank you
let's
very
begin
much.
the practice now. So let's begin with our chakra vibrations. The chakra vibrations is really okay. The Mukesh Verma has put the link for the book for those of you who are interested. It is there in Amazon. Now let's continue, but go on to our chakra vibrations. The chakra vibrations aligns the body and mind to the spiritual, the causal body. That is why we do chakra vibration first. We call it as balancing the chakras, which is the samana vayu. That becomes complete balance, means it is well integrated. It's for the purpose of a swadharma. Close your eyes and observe within how you're feeling. Observe the head. Come down slowly, observe the chest, observe the legs, and if there is any tightness, calmness, observe the nature of calmness. Observe how heavy or light the body is. Now we will begin the chakra vibration, and after that you will see the body feels even lighter. Bring your awareness to the perineum. Everybody knows where the perineum is? Perineum is the place that is in between the anus and the genital area. So it is in front of the anus. So what we do is we focus over there, and as we squeeze that part, like it's squeezing the buttocks, pressing on the little finger, we do the mantra LUM, right? So take a deep breath in. LUM. Continue. LUM. Release the finger and continue. LUM. LUM. Last time. LUM. Now bring your awareness an inch or so above the perineum, and this is behind the pubic area, behind the place where you urinate. And we'll try to squeeze from front to back, pressing the ring finger with the thumb, right? So take a deep breath in, and here we do the sound VUM. Take a deep breath in. VUM. 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 Release the finger, continue. VUM. VUM. Hum. Last time. Vum. Bring your awareness behind the navel, and as you draw in at the navel, we do rum, pressing on the middle finger with the thumb. Rum. 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 Release the finger, continue. Rum. Rum. Bring the awareness to the middle of the chest, in between the breasts, and here we do yum, pressing on the index finger of the thumb. Yum. 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 Release, continue. Yum. 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 Now bring the awareness to the throat, and here we do hum. Thumbs up, loose fist. Hum. 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 Release the hand, continue. Hum. Last time. Hum. Middle of the head, and the middle of the head is right behind the bridge of the nose. The best way to find it is bring your fingers to the tip of your eyes, the right at the side, and slide it till it hits the ear. And when it hits the ear, the two fingers are pointing right to the middle of the head. That's where you want to focus. So focusing there, we do the sound chum. So chum like Kshatriya, right? So for this, again, thumbs up with a loose fist. Chum. 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 Release the hand, continue. Chum. Last time. Chum. Top of the middle of the head, we do Om, thumbs up, loose fist. Release the hand, continue. Last time. Keep your eyes closed. Observe how you feel within. Observe the lightness you feel that was not there before. Do you feel it?
Yeah.
So this is the impact of the chakra vibration. It brings your inner awareness, and the inner awareness that is able to guide you to unfold your Swadharma. So now let's go on to, I'm going to skip on the Ujjayi Pranayam, which stimulates the peripheral nervous system, which is what we normally do. But I'm going to do spinal alignment with sound vibration. Okay? So all of you here are sitting. So what we are going to do is, we will twist the head and the entire spine to the right, left, and back with the sound Ah. Ah is considered the sound of Brahma. Okay, Ah. And then with chin down, we will do the sound, humming sound like ma. And when we do with the chin down ma, and this is an instruction for all of you on Zoom too, we begin with humming sound with the chin down and slowly raise the head up as the humming sound completes, and you will find greater openness and balancing in the body, right? So we will do that. Let's take a deep breath in, twist to the right. You can cross the hand over, hold the chair, twist, and we do ah. To the left. Hold the side of the chair and do a backward stretch. Chin to the chest. Slowly raise your head. As you raise the head, it will feel openness coming to the top of the head. We'll do a second round, and the second round, we are again going to do the same thing, but twice in each direction. Okay? So take a deep breath in, turn to the right. Second time, do a little more. To the left. To the back. Chin to the chest. Slowly lift up the head. Second time. So those of you who are on video, can you see the difference when you do and head up, you feel the openness? Right? Very nice. Now, third round, we will do 3 times in each direction. So let's go to the right again. Second time. Third time. To the left. To the back. Chin down. Lift up the head. Again, chin down. Third time. Now cross one leg over the opposite thigh and get hold of the knee on the top. And we'll pull the knee towards the opposite shoulder and turn the head the other way. And we will focus at the perineum. As we squeeze that, we will do lum. Okay? We'll do it 3 times. Take a deep breath in. Lum. 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 Let's cross the other leg over. Lum. Lum. Now bring the awareness to the top of the head and we will do Ah or Om 3 times. Most of you will find Om better. Okay, take a deep breath in. Keep the eyes closed and observe how the earlier everything felt lighter. Now you can see the spine and your joints all feel looser and even better. Now, how many of you can feel that? You can feel very nice. Now, let's go on now to 2 breathing practices. Many of you know about the alternate nostril breathing. And this is in fact the pranayama that is done in temple ceremonies too. The priest will do that before they do things, right? So you inhale from the right nostril and exhale through the left. What am I saying? No. Close the right nostril, inhale through the left nostril, exhale through the right, inhale through the right nostril, exhale through the left. That is 1 cycle. But it has to be done with visualization. So when you inhale from the left nostril, visualize like the awareness is going from the left towards the right side under the left eye, under the right eye, and going up and settling right at the middle of the forehead at the hairline level. And when you exhale to the right nostril, visualize a mirror flow from the left side coming out of the right nostril. Inhale to the right nostril and then exhale to the left nostril. And many of you see there are some mudras that people use. When people bend the middle and index finger and hold it like this, that is one mudra. There are some people, what they do is they will keep one finger at the top of the forehead, and then they will do like this. People whom you have seen. The reason for the finger to keep it right at the hairline on the forehead, because that's the point of focus of the inhalation and exhalation. So whichever way you do it, the mudras are not important. It is the breathing and focus that is important. Okay? So let's do 3 cycles of it. Begin inhalation from the left nostril. Exhale to the right and continue. Breathing must be slow and peaceful. Once you finish the last exhalation through the left nostril, we can end. This practice is important because it is considered balancing the two hemispheres of the brain. The right hemisphere controls the left side of the body and is called the Ida Nadi, that is your inner domain. And from a medical science perspective, it is called the creative brain. The left brain controlling the right side of the body, we call it as the Pingala Nadi, that is dealing with the external world. From medical science perspective, they call it the logical brain. Okay? So our creative, our inner dimension, the logical, the external transactional, both need to be in sync for fulfilling our Swadharma. That's why this is considered a very important practice. Okay? So now we are going to energize the system with Bhastrika Pranayama. Now, I don't know about, if you have, any of you have had exposure to Bhastrika Pranayama here? Okay. Different schools do it in different ways. There is one right way of doing it, and all other ways are wrong ways. Okay? Yoga has a fundamental rule. There can be no strain in any practice that you do. Okay? And Bhastrika is defined as deep breathing. And Bhastrika is derived from the word Bhastra. And the text, that is the Hatha Yoga Pradipika and the Gyananda Samhita, are very clear that the breathing must be like a Bhastra. A Bhastra means the bellows. How does the Bhastra or the bellows operate? Many of you in your younger age might have seen a blacksmith or a goldsmith use the bellows. How many of you have seen it? Okay, very nice. So when you have seen it, if you have noticed how the blacksmith or the goldsmith, they lift the bag, the whatever is the handle in the bag, right? And if you see the motion, it lifts like this. And when they bring it down, it's a much slower motion. Why is that the case? If it is too fast, the air going into the fire to heat the fire will make the fire unstable, right? So what happens is, the motion is always like this. That's how it works, right? So that is the way in which we are going to do Bhastrika, right? And the key is, in the system from the Hatha Yoga text, there is no description for hand motions. Okay? So if you go like, that is Bhastrika. Okay? But hand motions can reinforce the breathing. It's full breathing. Now, of course, the physiological side is that our normal unconscious breathing only does air exchange of about 10% of the lung capacity. You can, for a different anatomical and physiological reason, you can never use 100% of your lung capacity. But when you breathe with full breathing, you can use 30-40% of your lung capacity or a little more. Okay? So that is our goal. And so the oxygenization, everything improves substantially. So we will use, so in order to do that, the left lung has 2 lobes, the right lung has 3 lobes. The upper lobe, middle lobe, and lower lobe, the left lung has only upper and lower. Okay? So when the lower lobes fill, the belly comes out. And then when the upper lobe or the middle lobe fills, not only just the chest open up, but the shoulder also pulls back, right? So if you use the hand to keep that motion, it's more effective in the Bhastrika. But remember, it is not a hand exercise. It's only a breathing exercise, right? So what you can do is keep the hands open like this, and as you exhale, close the fist and bring your elbows down towards the chest and feel the belly go in. Inhale, open up. Exhale. 2, inhale. Exhale. 3, exhale. 4, exhale. 5, exhale. 6, exhale. 7, exhale. 8, exhale. 9, exhale. 10, exhale. 11, exhale. 12, exhale. 13, exhale. 14, exhale. 15, exhale. 16, exhale. 17, exhale. 18, exhale. 19, exhale. 20, exhale. Keep the eyes closed. Observe the sensations within. Some of you may feel some sensations in the head, and many of you may not feel anything. If you feel any sensation in the head, something like heaviness or like giddiness, something like that, just keep observing. Okay, now let's go on to a second round of this. Get ready. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. 2. Exhale. 3. Exhale. 4. Exhale. 5. Exhale. 6. Exhale. 7. Exhale. 8. Exhale. 9. Exhale. 10. Exhale. 11. Exhale. 12. Exhale. 13. Exhale. 14. Exhale. 50. Exhale. 60. Exhale. 70. Exhale. 80. Exhale. 90. Exhale. 20. Exhale. Keep the eyes closed to observe the sensations within. Some of you may feel something in your head or shoulders. Observe how the sensations dissipate as you keep your eyes closed. Now we can go on to meditation. Mentally tell yourself, I give up all ideas and concepts and I care about nothing. I let go of everything, I let go of everything, I let go of everything. Feel a lightness come on, even a further level of lightness come on within you. And if you don't have a personal method of meditation, bring your awareness behind the lower part of the sternum, where the Atma Chakra, the transmitter is, and visualize a rising vibration from there going through your body and out of the top of the head. And visualize the rising vibration as 3 syllables. Haim Em Om, Haim Em Om, Haim Em Om. And this is done silently. It's just visualization. And we will have Om in the background. So this was a very short meditation today, given it's already 7:30. So with this, we will end this session over here. Namaste, everyone. Those of you who are connecting by Zoom and all of you here, namaste. So we will catch up with you at our regular session tomorrow. And tomorrow being Sunday, we will have the extra half hour for any discussion or thoughts you might have. So see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was
Thank
a
you very much,
wonderful
Dr. Rajan.
presentation. Thank you.